Hello YouTube. My name is Aiden and I'm an artist. I do a lot of toy customizations. I do a lot of costumes, props, sculptures, and a lot of wood carving. I was looking for a platform where I can show my art off and where I could also meet people who are interested in pretty much doing the same thing I do, and we can just get together and shoot the shit, which is what my YouTube channel is called. You know, it's just shooting the shit, getting together, talking about stuff that we like. And on this video, my first video, I wanted to talk about this action figure right here, Supergirl. She was popular back in the 90s. This version was the Elseworlds series. If you're a comic book fan, you're gonna know Elseworlds Supergirl, where Superman didn't exist, I think. And Supergirl had this like love affair with Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor apparently was a good guy or something like that. And she would help Lex Luthor, you know, save the world, and they would get together and do their stuff. This figure right here was made back in 2000, early 2000, and as you can see, this was the suit that Supergirl wore during the Elseworlds series. Now, as you can see, it's a very beautiful figure. She looks really nice. One thing I always noticed was that she had a really big bust, but if you ever look at the toy, there's no cleavage. So like up here where she has her shield, it's very flat, so it doesn't look natural. It looks very stiff. And if you could also see here, her hips, she doesn't have hips that are, you know, aesthetic with her bust size, and that always really bothered me. If you look at the comic books, you know, she was really curvy and voluptuous, and I think that the figure, even though it's very well done, it kind of misses the curvature of her body, and it doesn't really look, you know, entirely female. Plus, you know, there's so many different versions of Supergirl. We all have a favorite one, and the thing is, I wanted to use this figure in order to make a customization of my own Supergirl, one that was a little bit more feminine. You know, I wanted her to have long hair. I wanted her to be a bit more curvy. I wanted her bust to be more natural, you know, not so big, and I just wanted her to look more feminine and a lot sexier and a lot more, you know, female. So what I did was I started customizing this figure. The first thing I did was I started working on this base. This is just made out of clay that dries. As you can see, I did a 3D shield of the Superman shield, or in this case a Supergirl shield. And you know, it was really easy to do. You know, when this thing is wet, you can get this kind of clay at Walmart. It comes pre-mixed. All you have to do is mold it and let it dry. Here I was combining two techniques, sculpting and then wood carving. So as you can see, the edge right here, this was achieved using a wood carving tool, so that way it wouldn't look so flat, but it gives it dimension, and it just makes the shield, the Superman shield, look really, really cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this as a base to go ahead and set the figure on, so she could stand up on that. Once I get this finished, you know, it's going to get painted. I'm going to put some pegs on it, and that way the Supergirl figure can go ahead and stand on this, and it's going to look really cool when that gets done. Here, the reason I'm showing you this photo is because this is what the way the photo used to look like. You know, this is the way the figure used to look like, I'm sorry. So as you can see, you know, just a typical blue suit, a really big shield on the top, and from the shield her cape is flowing. So what I wanted to do is I want to go ahead and customize it, make her look more female, make her look more sexy, but not taking away the strength that Supergirl represents to a lot of people, especially little girls. So what I have here is an almost finished version. I'm going to go ahead and take this away, and I'm going to show you the Supergirl, which is almost finished. It's not completely finished, but the way she looks like now. So this is my Supergirl. As you can see, she looks a lot sexier. I didn't take away any of her femininity. I kind of just added to it. If you want to go ahead and just look a little bit closer, if you look at her shield, this is a shield that was done with epoxy resin. It's not clay like the shield here, but it was made with epoxy resin. It is three-dimensional, kind of like this one. So it's raised from her chest, and as you can see, it gives her the cleavage. You see that? You see how it's bent in the middle, and it makes her bust look more natural. A lot more natural, a lot more feminine, and not so stiff like before. As you can see, I also added long hair. So these white marks that you see right here, that's unfinished hair right there. Okay, that's unfinished, unpainted, unsculpted. So I haven't finished that part of her hair yet, but the rest of it is finished. That's sculpted right there. See that? And as you can see, I also gave her a different suit. So I took away the whole bodysuit that she was wearing, and I added skin. So right here, I revealed her stomach, her abdomen. I revealed her legs, the skin on her legs. And I left her boots pretty much the way she already had them, but I gave them a different paint scheme. So I darkened the red, and I gave her a golden trim on the upper boot. I also, if you notice, with the Apoxie Sculpt, I gave her a skirt, and I did give her underwear too. So she has red underwear under that, and the skirt was actually the easiest thing to do. It's just pieces of Apoxie Sculpt clay, and I just put them together, and I let them dry in this up position, like the wind is blowing it up. And I also gave her a belt. There are some versions of Supergirl where she has a belt, and the skirt is clinging to that belt, and it just looks a lot sexier, and it's my favorite version of Supergirl. As you can see, the belt is serving two purposes. It's not just holding up the skirt, it's also giving her hips. So if you compare the way the figure was before, she didn't really have a lot of hips. She was kind of the guy who sculpted her was just focusing on her chest, and he wasn't really focusing on the rest of her body. So here's a close-up for comparison. You see how small her hips are. Right now she's standing in a position where she's accentuating one hip, but the other hip is just kind of flows into the leg. Here, with the addition of the belt and her skirt, it's giving her the hips that she didn't have. And because they took away the blue of her suit and showed off her skin, it's just making her a lot more sexier. I also darkened the blue, her uniform, as you can see in the photo, is a bright blue, and the shield is like super huge. what I did was I darkened the blue here. I darkened the blue, and I made the shield a lot smaller. And the shield is also serving two purposes. It brings balance to her figure, and like I mentioned before, it's giving her the cleavage that she was missing. Also, what I did with this figure is that I lowered her neckline. So she didn't have a neckline when I started with the figure. Her blue suit was all the way up to her neck, and all you can really see of any skin was on her head and in her hands. Here, I lowered her neckline by giving her, with the Apoxie Sculpt, a golden neckline, and I revealed the skin on her neck. So, you know, with girls, what really makes them look feminine is obviously the curvature of the body, the aesthetics of the body. You know, they're a lot more delicate than the male body. And also, revealing their neck. See? She has a very thin, fragile, graceful neck. So that adds to her femininity. But as you can see, adding to the femininity doesn't take away from the power. You know, she still looks powerful. She still looks you know, strong, and she still looks like she could kick ass. So, and that was the whole idea, you know, making her look feminine, kind of like Wonder Woman over here, but at the same time making her look strong. And that was kind of easy to do. When I started with this figure, before I even touched the figure, I drew on the picture, and I was drawing on the picture, making changes, and seeing whether my ideas were going to work. And when I did those changes on the photo, you know, and using a lot of imagination, you know, I had to convince myself, like, yeah, you know, this idea is going to work. So I went ahead and started with the hair, getting that sculpted. Now her hair, if you can see, it's completely different. What I had to do with this figure is that I had to take off her hair, and that was kind of sad because the guy who originally made it, he did a really, really, really good job. But that's not the hair that I wanted. You know, I wanted that sexy long hair that I like about girls. So I added this hair after I shaved the other one off. Normally when they make toys, they make the head and then they make the hair separately and they stick them together. Not on this one. This one, it was just one solid piece. So what I did was I shaved off the hair completely with a Dremel tool. It's a very useful tool. I used the Dremel tool and I shaved that off, and I did this hair right here. Went ahead and sculpted that, and that was the most extreme change that I did to her. That was the only pretty much sanding that I had to do. I had to go ahead and cut off her cape. You know, it used to be right there. That's going to get sanded a little bit more. And with the epoxy, which is an incredible clay, I went ahead and added the skirt, her belt, the Superman shield, her neckline, and of course I went ahead and added a cape, which was a lot more feminine, and I guess it just made more sense to me to add a cape like this. As you can see, it's not, I haven't finished painting it yet. I still need to sand some stuff, but you can see the overall shape of the cape. You know, it just makes a lot more sense with this design. And what I did was that a lot of girls, or some girls, I got the inspiration from some dresses that some girls wear, and some dresses that I like is that you can see their back exposed. You know, and that's just really sexy. You know, I just think that's really sexy. So I added that detail to Supergirl's costume. So as you can see with the neckline, I lowered it in the front. Right here I lowered her neckline, so you can go ahead and see her neck. And I continued lowering that, and I gave, you can see a little bit of her back. So with the Apoxie Sculpt, I made a V right here that goes into her shirt, her top rather. And then I also cut out that V in her cape. So it's two straps right here that form one cape once, so you could leave her skin exposed. And it just looks a lot more cooler. It's a lot sexier. And in a way, it's also way more Kryptonian. You know, you can imagine people from Krypton wearing this kind of costume. So that's pretty much where all my inspiration is from. You know, I'm getting it from the comic books. I'm getting it from girls, you know, that I see, girls that I like, models, dresses that I like to see girls in. You know, I think a girl who shows off her back like that is really sexy. And then, as you can see, the making the shape of the of her cape is possible with the mold and the Apoxie Sculpt. You know, it's not boring, it's not flat. Yeah, it does need to be sanded a little bit, and it needs to be painted. But as you can see, it looks natural. You know, her hair is flowing in that direction. You know, her hair is flowing this way. And her cape is also, you know, bending that way. And as you can see, her skirt, because it's really small, her skirt is also flowing. And that just makes her look more natural. You see? There's a lot of people who make customizations on toys. And even though they want to, you know, add hair and make her look, you know, prettier, they end up just making her look stiff. And they end up making her look like a guy with long hair. And here I wanted to make her look delicate, make her look frail, make her not frail, but just make her look delicate, more feminine, and add to her sexiness. So I added the long hair. As soon as I finish sculpting that and painting it, it's gonna look amazing. I finished painting her cape, which is underneath the neckline that I did with the Apoxie Sculpt. Again, her shield is raised. It's three-dimensional. Her belt isn't flat or straight. You know, it curves around her natural curves, the way clothes are supposed to do. And it makes her look, you know, sexy. It accentuates her hips. And the belt, you know, it just adds to that, you know. So you can see her legs look longer, leaner, more muscular, and she just looks super hot. As you can see, I also added the gold trim right here, right there on her sleeve, and I darkened the colors. So there's dark red boots. Oops. I darkened the colors: dark red boots, gold trim, natural skin tone, dark blue skirt, dark red underwear, dark red shield, golden. Instead of yellow, it's actually gold, Aztec gold, to accentuate the colors, and also a gold neckline. And around here, once you can see a little bit that the cape is going to have gold trim, but it's also going to be dark red, and it's going to have that you know, exposed skin in that V shape. The way, you know, when I did that, when I came up with that idea, I was thinking about Krypton, but I was also thinking about how some women dress when they go out to dinner on a date. Sometimes they wear a dress with an exposed back. So that's where the inspiration comes from this. And I just mixed all of that together, and it really gives a sexier look. She looks sexy, she looks hot, but she still looks strong. She still looks like Supergirl, and she looks like she can really fight crime. So all of this was possible, again, with a Dremel tool, Apoxie Sculpt, the paint is actually acrylic paint that you can find at Walmart at the craft section. And again, the hardest parts were doing the hair of the shield and the skirt, letting that dry in that position. And everything else was just paint. And once this figure is done, I'm going to go ahead and do a clear coat so she could look shiny. One good example of doing that, making her look shiny, is just spraying her with a clear coat so she can have that new action figure look to her. I'm just going to show you a quick example of that right here with another figure that I did. It's called the Phantom. Some of you might know him, some of you might not, but I made this figure a few years ago. I used another figure as a base, and all of this is Apoxie Sculpt and paint, acrylic paint from Walmart. As you can see, once he's a little bit dirty, but you can see the shiny boots. That is the clear coat spray paint that gives it that look, because the acrylic paint is flat and dry, but once you paint it with a clear coat, it really gives it that sheen, that that action figure freshly bought from the store look. And I'm a big fan of the Phantom, so. But they've never made a good Phantom action figure, so I decided to go ahead and just make my own. And that's, I did the paint job, the belt, the holsters for his gun, the underwear, and the shiny boots, and pretty much that's going to give you an idea of what Supergirl is going to look like once she's done. I've showed this figure to a lot of people, and a lot of people already say that she looks incredible. But she's going to look more incredible once she's done, hopefully. And that Phantom figure is just to give you an idea of what she's going to look like once she's done. So anyway, thank you for watching my video. I do plan on posting more of the things that I do, more of my art. Do me a favor and subscribe and share this video, and leave a comment or a like, and hopefully you become a fan of my channel, and we can just shoot the shit together. Thank you, and have a nice day.